Welcome to today's Wednesday webinar. We are going to be talking today about romance and dating scams. My name's Bailey Parker, and I'm the Communications Director here at the South Carolina Department of Consumer Affairs. I've been here for about, a little less than 4.5 years, and this is my favorite part of the job. I love to be able to talk about these subjects with consumers so they can be better educated to avoid scams. And really, we know here at the Department of Consumer Affairs that prevention is the best way. Education and prevention is the best way to really guard against that identity theft from happening. Now, you don't have to be the victim of a scam to be the victim of identity theft, but oftentimes, if you are a victim of identity theft, it comes from a scam. So that's why we often pair scams with identity theft. And today we're focusing on romance. We're in that time of year. It's Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is just 6 days away. And, you know, love does not discriminate when it comes to age. So it doesn't matter if you are young or older. You may be looking for love. If you're single and ready to mingle, you might be looking for love, and nowadays you can look for love online. And almost all of romance or dating scams happen online. About 10 years ago, it was considered taboo to date online. It's pretty standard these days, whether it's on an app or a dating site, whether it's free or paid. So it's not so taboo these days, and scammers take advantage of that. Scammers will take advantage of any corner of the market they can, and Valentine's Day and romance are definitely one of those areas that they are taking advantage of, full advantage of. We'll talk about that in just a second. Okay, I always have to do this. I'm not an attorney. You don't want legal advice from me. It'd be really bad advice. This presentation is not meant to serve as a substitute for reading the various laws discussed. We're not going to talk about any specific laws today, so this doesn't really apply. But you definitely, if you need to seek legal counsel, we are not legal counsel for you. I am definitely not going to be legal counsel for you. This presentation is merely serving as an introduction and overview of the topic. All right, here are the numbers. We're getting right into it. So the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, hasn't released their 2022 numbers yet for romance scams. So this is from 2021. But the FBI and the FTC work closely together when it comes to romance scams. Reason they work together closely is because the FTC takes scam reports and identity theft reports, and we work with them with that. And then the FBI has the Internet Crimes Complaint Center, and romance scams take place on the internet. So there's a lot of interagency working here. So the FBI is estimating that these numbers have probably doubled for 2022. So just keep that in mind as we talk about these numbers, because these are huge numbers. So the FTC, you see this graph on the right side, this bar graph, shows the growth of scams reported. So the line that you see going up is the number of scams reported, that red line. So you see that huge jump. And then the gray bar itself is money lost. So again, huge growth. In the last 5 years, people have reported 1.3 billion lost to romance scams. That's more than any other Federal Trade Commission category when people are calling the FTC reporting loss. The reported losses hit a record of over $500 million. So $547 million was lost in 2021 alone, just to romance scams. And you can see, looking at that bar graph, In 2020, it was 307 million, and then it ballooned to the 547. So almost double. The median loss reported, so that means when an individual reports, their loss is around $2,400 each. Now, that's the median loss here. I'm going to show you some examples of how this actually happens. It's way bigger than the $2,400 loss that you see there. And we know, based on the reports that we get and seeing the numbers that the FBI and the FTC report, that romance scams are some of the most costly scams to consumers. Research shows that romance scammers often target older adults. Now, it's not that only older adults are getting scammed in romance scams. Everyone of all ages are getting scammed. Don't lull yourself into that myth of, oh, only older adults are getting scammed. No, that's not true. Everybody's getting scammed. Okay, so get the old adage out of your head that only older adults are getting scammed. But scammers love to target older adults when it comes to romance scams, because they know that older adults maybe have a little bit more money. And so they could probably get more money out of an older adult in one of these romance scams than, say, a younger adult. So that's why they may be more willing to target an older adult in one of these romance scams. So what is a romance scam? It's when a criminal adopts a fake online identity to gain a victim's love or trust. Now, it doesn't always have to be romantic, I will say that. It doesn't, sometimes it could just be friendship. It could just be a friendship relationship. I did speak to a woman who was just looking for companionship. It wasn't necessarily romantic in any type of way. She was just lonely. And that's the one thing that makes me personally very angry about romance scammers, is they are preying on individuals who are lonely, and they're taking advantage of people's loneliness when it comes to these situations. And they find those people and they exploit them. So the scammer then uses this illusion or idea of a romantic or close relationship to manipulate or steal from the victim. So what you need to know about romance scams, or even just like companionship scams, is they're long cons. These types of scams are not quick deals. The biggest red flags, if you've been to any of our other presentations, I think one of the biggest differences between a romance scam and, say, any other scam, we always talk about the red flags of scams. And scammers use high pressure tactics. They try and get you to act fast, because scammers want to get you to act fast so you don't have time to think, right? Romance scams are a little different. Romance scams, the scammers will take their time. They're going to put in the time and effort to gain your trust, to develop that relationship with you. I've heard stories of people who say, yeah, they didn't start asking for money or information for 6 months, sometimes a year. That is a long time to be putting in effort to steal someone's information or money. So yeah, that's a long con, okay? Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be that long. It could be 3 months, it could be 1 month, but it's not gonna be this, hey, I'm gonna give you a phone call, or I'm gonna send you a quick message, and then an hour later, I'm gonna be asking you for money. It's gonna be putting in effort to gain your trust and your love and your adoration, and then I'm gonna start manipulating you and stealing from you because you trust me now. So how does this happen? The reason I want to share these examples is when I talk about this subject in person, it's very hard to do this on webinar because I can't see your faces. You can see my face, but I can't see your faces or hear you. When I am in person with people, I often hear people say, oh, how could people be so naive? How could people be so dumb to fall for these things? And I always say that's unfair. That's an unfair judgment to make because these people aren't dumb. These people are often very smart. They have just probably fallen into a vulnerable position where they're just looking for some companionship. They've often found themselves lonely for the first time in a long time. You'll find a common thread in some of these stories where it's older women whose husbands have died recently, so they're widows, and they're alone for the first time in 40, 50 years, and an older gentleman messages them on a dating app or even on Facebook, maybe Instagram. And it starts off innocent, just chatting. So I think it's unfair to say that these people are dumb or stupid or naive when they get into these situations, because oftentimes these people, it's not just older women, because it can be older men also and people of any age. But they're often in vulnerable positions. So kind of take that out of your head too. Let's not make those judgments about people who get into these situations for whatever reason that they may have. So how does it happen? It can happen on your traditional websites. So scammers are willing to pay money sometimes to go on a traditional dating site. Maybe they'll go on to a free dating site, but they are willing to pay money sometimes to seem more legitimate, to talk to people. But it oftentimes happens on social media, if not more often than dating sites. So it could be a direct message on Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat or wherever. It could be any type of message. I know myself as a 30-something-year-old lady who's married and has a couple of small children. I've received messages from random men or comments on things that say, oh, you look very nice, I'd love to talk to you, or messages, things like that. And I know they're scammers, they're not real, right? But that's how these things start. It could just be a simple comment or a simple message like that on Facebook or Instagram. Here is an example. This was a nationwide thing that involved multiple states. This was just from a couple of weeks ago, January 16th, this was published. But this release came out from Rhode Island, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Rhode Island. But Texas was involved, West Virginia was involved, I believe Arizona and Nevada were involved, because this man was scamming multiple women in multiple states, and he laundered over $1.6 million from seniors specifically in 11 states, at least 11 states that they know of right now. So what he would do is he would befriend unsuspecting seniors online, and he would pose as a general in the U.S. military. That's a red flag. We'll talk about that when we get to the red flags. And he would sometimes pose as a romantic interest. So he would sometimes be romantic with the people, but sometimes he would just act as a friend, and he would over time convince them to send him substantial forms of money, usually, or sums of money, usually in the form of checks or cash, and send it to Texas where he was. So what he would do is he would withdraw that money from his bank and then transfer it to other accounts. So they couldn't find the money. He was found out, arrested, and he is going to be sentenced later this year, I believe in April, was what this press release said. So he was caught and arrested. I get the question all the time is, are scammers ever prosecuted? And in this case, he was. This was a federal investigation, a nationwide investigation. So yes, in this situation, luckily this scammer was caught. But this is just one example. This was also from a couple weeks ago. This was a story out of West Virginia, not related to the other one. A woman based out of West Virginia who was 84 was involved with a online scammer. She didn't know he was a scammer and ended up giving him almost $100,000. The subline, the subheader there says victims lost $1 billion to romance scams in 2021. But she personally lost almost $100,000. They met on an online dating site, and it was over the course of 4 years that they spoke to each other. Remember how I said these are long cons? Yeah, long cons, okay? These scammers put in the time and effort when it comes to romance scams because they make so much money off of these scams. This isn't just a quick $1,000 and they leave, or a quick $100 and leave. They're making sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars off of these scams. This is from a couple of years ago, but this was a huge ring, a romance scam ring that was a federal case. And again, it was a man who was claiming to be a U.S. Army captain stationed in Syria, and he was reaching out to multiple women and was requesting to be digital pen pals. Well, it turns out it was multiple men doing this. It was a group of men, and they were targeting dozens and dozens of women, and it was this whole romance scam ring where they stole millions of dollars from all of these women involved. 6 million, at least 6 million. Over 80 men were involved. One woman said she sent over $200,000 to the man that she was talking to over 10 months. So the 80 men that were involved in this were all arrested, luckily. So again, this was one instance where luckily the scammers were arrested and prosecuted. So these are just a couple of examples. This is one that I actually got. This isn't specifically the one that I got, but it's an example, almost exact example of one that I received. This is a little different than the average romance scam. This is newer. So this is a wrong number text scam. And what's going to happen here is you're going to get a message from somebody. I got a message from somebody named Ashley. And Ashley says she's looking for John, and she really enjoyed her time when they met on their date, and she was hoping that we could meet up again because she's in town, something like that, right? And I got that message, and I was like, oh, it's just a wrong number. So I responded back, wrong number. Well, she responds to this, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. I can't believe it. He must have given me a wrong number. Well, who are you? I'd love to get to know you. Exact like this right here. Anyway, you learned my name and how I look. What's yours? Sends a really cute photo of herself. That's exactly what happened to me. It wasn't this girl. It was another also very cute girl. And I responded back and said, hey, I'm a 30-something-year-old lady with 2 small children and a husband. You don't want to talk to me, but have a good day. And she responded back and said, oh, yes, I do want to talk to you. I'm very interested. And that's when I realized, like, this is a scam. Okay. Luckily for me, I am aware that this is a scammer. In these pictures, this person is messing with this scammer. But if you are an unsuspecting person who might be a little lonely and find this woman attractive, she sent a mildly suggestive photo. And if you find her attractive, she's showing interest in you and asking you questions and wants to know more about you. And if you're lonely, you might fall for the bait. And there have been a lot of news stories about these type of text message threads where at some point she's going to ask for your information or your bank account information, credit card information, or she's going to ask for Cash App, Venmo, things like that, or she's going to have some incredible investment opportunity in like cryptocurrency, something like that. Another way this can go is sextortion. So she might send you some sexy photos and then say, I'd like to see some of you. And if you're not thinking clearly, you might send some back. And then that person on the other end might start blackmailing you with those photos for money, saying, okay, now I'm going to send these to your boss. So basically blackmailing you with the photos that you sent. Unfortunately, that is becoming more common. So that's another version of how this could go. Now, the sextortion is a subcategory of a romance scam. It's not the main category of a romance scam, but it is a subcategory. Here is another written example. This is one that I got to speak to this woman on the phone at a phone bank. She was a former military member whose husband had died a couple years prior. She was messaged by a handsome military member and started chatting on Facebook. They developed a close relationship over messaging. And then after about 6 months, this person started asking for money. The way they would ask for money is, oh, my car broke down and I need to get it fixed, or I'm in the hospital and I need to pay some bills. And so it would be small forms of money. So she started sending those over. Once she realized it was a scam, they started to blackmail her. And she realized there was multiple men involved in this. She started getting text messages from different phone numbers. So there were multiple people involved. And then by the end of it, she had drained over $60,000 out of her veteran pension to give to this group of men. And she was she had a master's degree, very smart, sharp woman who just unfortunately was alone for the first time in 60 years. And she just wanted somebody to talk to. And so somebody messaged her and she had someone to talk to for the first time. And that's how it started. So these are real people. And it's really unfortunate that this happens. So what are the signs? What do you need to watch out for if you're going to be dating online? Or what do you need to watch out for if you have family or friends who are dating? One of the biggest excuses is they're far, far away. So they're a military member who's in Iraq or somewhere else. They're scammers will often pose as somebody who has some important sounding job. They're often in the military. I will say that. They're working on an oil rig. That's a very common job for a romance scammer also. So oil rig, stationed in the military overseas, or there's some bigwig CEO that travels a ton. So oil rig, military, deployed overseas. Oh, this is another big one. They're a doctor in an international organization and they're saving lives, right? So very important job there. They're working on a construction project outside of the US and they have to travel a lot, okay? The reason these are all red flags is because the reason they're not gonna see you. These are all excuses as to why they can't come and see you in person. And these are also excuses as to why they probably can't video chat with you. I have bad reception in Iraq, or I have bad reception on the oil rig. Can't talk right now. Working on the construction site. Okay, these are all just excuses as to why they can't talk to you or video chat with you or come see you in person. Their profile seems too good to be true. It's because it is. So you see someone's profile online and they're the whole package. They love all the same things that you do. It's because scammers will tell you everything you want to hear, right? They have no shame. They're criminals. They're just looking to take your money and your information. A real profile will have a lot of photos of the person in different situations, one or two that has a full body, not just a close-up of their face, not just a blurry photo. It will link to their Facebook or Instagram profiles, which are active and updated. Or if they don't have links to other profiles or have a lot of photos, ask for them. And if they get weird about it, they're a scammer, okay? And they'll make excuses as to why they don't have a lot of pictures, like, oh, well, my camera's broken. Oh, well, I just hate taking photos of myself. Oh, no. That's a true sign of a scammer, okay? And really, if somebody is into everything that you are and they just say, oh yeah, I love that too. Oh yeah, that's my favorite movie. Oh yeah, that's my favorite musician. Oh yeah, that's my favorite food. Oh, I love that too. Yeah, that's a red flag. If they're just telling you everything, they're telling you that they love all the same things. They're just telling you what you want to hear. The relationship moves really fast. So they want to act fast for telling you, like, to tell you that they love you. They want to gain your trust right away. They're going to tell you everything you want to hear, so you really like them really fast. Now, I mentioned earlier that scammers in general, excuse me, want to act fast before their targets catch on to their antics or catch on to their lies. Romance scammers want to act fast into convincing you that they love you or that you're the only person that you should be talking to, or they're the only person that you should be talking to, right? That you're not going to be talking to anyone else on these dating sites, so that they can have your full attention. They want to get you on the hook. So they profess their love to you surprisingly quick. They ask you to marry them without having met you in person. They make you a promise that you'll see one another, but they usually break that promise over and over again. They often ask you to move communication off of either the dating app that you're talking on or the dating site that you met on, or even the social media site that you met on. So say they messaged you on Facebook, they're going to try and get you off of that. They're going to try to get you to text message them directly. That's a huge red flag. They're just trying to move you off of another platform so they can isolate you on text message. They break promises to visit. I mentioned this before. You and your love are making plans to meet in person finally. And when you go to meet them, they never show up. And they're going to make excuses. All the excuses in the world, okay? Their car broke down. Their family members in the hospital, or even maybe they're in the hospital. They had to go into work at the last minute. They're just violently ill, okay? They're going to come up with any story in the book to make you feel awful for them. And the stories could be wild, okay? They have no shame. So don't think to yourself, like, well, why would they make that up? Why would they tell me that their grandma died? Why would somebody lie about a family member dying? They're criminals and they don't care. That's why, okay? So don't think to yourself like, well, nobody would ever lie about a family member dying. Yeah, criminals would. So if you've got somebody who's constantly breaking promises to visit, that's probably a scammer. So any other sob story, I don't care how crazy it is, it's probably a scammer. Any attempts to isolate you from your family or friends, I think that's one of the biggest red flags. So this person that you met online tells you not to tell your family or friends about their relationship. Why? Why can't you tell your family or friends about your relationship? Seems a little suspicious, right? So the scammer's afraid that if you tell your loved ones about their relationship, they're gonna tip you off that it's fake, that they're fake. The scammer is gonna try and get you to send inappropriate photos. We talked about sextortion earlier, or financial information so they can extort you, further isolating you from your loved ones. That's another way they can do this. So say you do end up sending some sexy photos and they start to extort you for that or blackmail you. That's going to be a really embarrassing thing to explain to your family maybe. And so you start to isolate yourself from your family further. Another common thing that we hear is the scammer will say, well, they just don't understand our love. They just don't get it. They don't believe in us. They don't believe in you. They don't believe in me. It's us against the world. That old romantic adage, right? Us against the world. Yeah, you're right. And your family members are just hating on me for no reason. And I love you more than they love you. They'll start feeding you those types of lines, and you'll start isolating yourself from your family because you'll start believing those things. And that will further lean you on that scammer. And you'll be more willing to give them money, time, whatever they want. And they need that money because that's all they want from you. And it needs to be in a specific form of payment. So they need help with bills, car payments, passports to come and see you because they really want to come and see you because they love you so much. And whatever other sob story they can think of. And it always has to be in specific forms of payment, weirdly enough. It's always got to be in like a wire or bank transfer, maybe even gift cards. They told you to go to Walmart and buy prepaid gift cards and to scratch off the back and send them the numbers. That was a little weird. They even told you to buy cryptocurrency and transfer those crypto over to them. They told you to use money apps like Cash App or Venmo, or just send cold hard cash or anything they can use like cash. Scammers, this is a red flag in general. If you've been to any of our other recent presentations, this is a huge red flag, if not one of the biggest red flags of scams in general. Scammers want specific forms of payment. And it's because it's untraceable. That's why they want these forms of payment. They're either virtually untraceable or very hard to trace. So if anyone that you've met online with, or a loved one who you know is talking to somebody online, is sending a loved one wire transfers or gift cards, it's a scam. There's never going to be a time where an actual boyfriend or girlfriend of somebody is going to be like, yeah, I just need you to go to Walmart and buy me a bunch of iTunes gift cards. Scratch off the back and text me the codes. Yeah, that's always going to be a scammer. Just letting you know that. So how can you protect yourself? Slow down, okay? Ask a lot of specific questions and talk with someone, please. An unbiased opinion is going to be the best thing that you can do for yourself. Whether it's a family member, a friend, a neighbor, somebody from your church, I don't care who, but an unbiased opinion of your situation and who you're talking to can really help. And to take yourself out of, oh, well, they just don't understand. Don't get defensive. Tell them the situation. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Don't get defensive and say, well, but that person loves me, right? Because your emotions are probably running high. You're probably interested in that person. But know that your friend or family member has your best interest in mind. Ask that person that you're talking to also a lot of specific questions. And if they start to give you vague answers or they don't have any direct answers for you, that can be a red flag too. Scammers don't like to give a lot of details to answers because then that's information they have to keep up with in their long con. They have to keep up with that lie. And so they don't want to give you a lot of details that they have to remember down the line. Don't post more than you need to online. So on your Facebook profiles, your Instagram, and that goes for don't friend people you don't know, even if the person is very handsome or pretty, okay? If you get a friend request from a very handsome military man or a very good looking military woman or just a very good looking person in general, if you don't know them, don't accept them. Scammers use details that you share on your social media and your dating sites to better understand and target you and to understand how they can get more money and information about you. Just never give money. I think that's just the general rule. You just never give money. If you've only communicated with this person online or talking on the phone, text, or call, you should never send them money. Another red flag I want to mention that wasn't before, if you have not seen this person over video chat, if they refuse to video chat with you, that's a huge red flag. It's probably because the pictures that you've seen don't match with what would show on the video, okay? It's because they're catfishing. I don't know if you guys have heard that term. Catfishing is where somebody uses fake photos online to act as somebody else so they can scam you. There's an entire MTV show about dating scams called Catfish that you can watch about this whole concept. Scammers love wire and bank transfers, gift card, cryptocurrency app transfers, and just never give money. If you have not seen them, if you have not met them in person, if you don't know that they're an actual human being that matches the photos that you've seen, you should not be giving them money under any circumstances. And please report it. If you think you've been the victim of a romance scam, report it to us and IC3. So the Internet Crime Complaint Center at IC3.gov. IC3.gov, they see the most reports of romance scams, and they actually may be able to help you when it comes to bank-to-bank transfers. You got to report it fast, though. Now, cryptocurrency and all those other types of losses they may not be able to help you with, but they have a lot of relationships with the major banks. So if you do a bank-to-bank transfer, they may be able to help you get your money back. So I would call IC3 for sure if you did a bank-to-bank transfer. All right, we've got a couple of minutes, and I want to show you how to do this. Reverse image search. So say you find somebody on the internet you find very attractive. And you're like, well, there's only a couple of photos. I'm not sure if this is really them. So this is my headshot. And then this is a very well-known military general. What we're going to do real quick, we're going to go, you can just do Google image search. Okay, so you can do a reverse Google image search. What you do is search by image. What a Google image search is going to do is it will actually show you where any of these photos, so you can copy and paste a photo into Google image search, and it will show you everywhere that it's showing up on the internet. This is really useful for online dating because you can see if somebody's using photos just from Google or other profiles. So let's paste my general headshot in here. I just right-clicked on, oh, it's showing me where I bought this. Wow, that's fascinating. It's not even focusing on my face. It's telling me where you bought my top. Well, now you guys know you can go buy this shirt somewhere. That's fascinating. So this photo is not showing up anywhere in Google reverse image search. Now, you can go buy this top now if you really want to, but let's try this general. So I'll show you this right here. So what I'm doing is right-clicking and I'm copying this image. We'll go back. Click on the little camera and I'll just paste. It uploads. Okay, so look at this. The reason I chose this guy is because this comes up. Online scammers can't stop impersonating this 4-star Army general. General Stephen J. Townsend has no accounts on social media and dating sites, yet there he is, supposedly online and looking for love. Look at how many social Facebook profiles he allegedly has, even though he actually has, the real Stephen J. Townsend has no social media profiles. So if you were to see this guy's profile online, you would be able to Google image search him, just like I did, and something like this would come up of his profile. All of these articles, including people that actually aren't him, but people that kind of look like him, would come up and you'd say, oh, wait, that guy? Yeah, I don't think that guy is the guy I'm talking to online. You can do that with any photo, all right? Now, if there are no photos that come up, like with mine, that's probably a good indication that the photo is a legitimate photo that that person is using for their profile, right? But if you see those images showing up everywhere, or in like news stories, you see them showing up on different Instagram profiles, Facebook profiles with different names, that's a red flag, okay? All right, everybody stay safe out there, especially have a happy Valentine's Day, whether you're, whether you have someone or you are single. Please have a happy Valentine's Day, and I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday.